Welcome to the Monday, February 27th Planning Commission meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. With that, any changes or additions to today's agenda? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve today's agenda.
So move. Second.
We have a motion, Ringstead, and second by Cheddar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Tonight's agenda is approved. With that, then we'll move to the approval of the Monday, January 9th, 2023 meeting minutes. Any changes to those? Seeing none, I will take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved of the Monday, January 9th meeting minutes. With that, then we will move to public hearings. Tonight we have a preliminary plat and a variance. With that, I will just remind the audience of a few things. First of all, welcome to the review hearing procedure. Staff will present its report and request to issue a hand, and planning commissioners will have an opportunity to pose questions to the staff. The applicant then will have an opportunity to address the commission, and commissioners can ask the applicant questions. Following the applicant's presentations, I will open the floor to public comment. If you wish to address the commission, I'd ask you please approach the podium, press the red button, turn on the microphone, and then clearly state your name and address for the official record. Please limit your comments to 5 to 7 minutes in length and keep them to facts pertaining to specific application. This meeting is the official public hearing and your primary opportunity to be heard on this matter. The City Council has no obligation to accept further public comment. In many cases, they do not. So please do not hesitate to speak. And since there is a variance, the variance request in this commission acting as the Board of Adjustment has the authority to approve or deny the request without sending the matter to City Council. However, any affected party can appeal the decision of this board. All appeals are heard by the City Council. If you choose to file an appeal, you must forward your appeal in writing to the Planning Department within 5 business days from this hearing. With that, I will turn it over to staff for PDEV 22-27 and 28.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. As you said, this item is a public hearing on tonight's meeting, and it is both a preliminary plat and a variance request for a project. The project is a commercial building site in Prior Lake, known as Prior Lake Revival 2. It's known as that because it's the second building project that this group, the Prior Lake Revival LLC group, has done in the city of Prior Lake around this location. So, location of the site, highlighted here in red and identified, is between West Avenue and Duluth Avenue, and with County Road 21, or what is known as Eagle Creek Boulevard, to the north of it, just west of downtown Prior Lake, where we are at today. There is currently a commercial building that was built excuse me, that was built a handful of years ago in just to the east of the site. That was the Prior Lake Revival building, the initial building of that houses commercial spaces in it right now, and you can see the parking lot to the south of it as well. And this is basically a continuation of another building, continuation of the parking. I'll get into the details in a little bit here of this commercial site. This site is zoned town center or downtown commercial zoning district, even though it's not immediately right within our downtown node because of its proximity to downtown and being a block away from downtown, as well as being right on County Road 21. The site lends itself to more of a commercial use rather than a residential use. Property inside specifically is 46,000 square feet, so just a little over an acre in size. And the building that's being proposed is just over 11,300 square feet of commercial space, broken up into various tenant spaces of about 3 to 4 tenants in the individual building. You see the existing building here that's just to the east of it that I just spoke about. That building is just over 12,000 square feet, so this building not quite as large, but very similar, and it's going to be similar in style as well. They're looking to expand the existing parking lot by adding another 15 parking stalls in total to the site further to the west, and then access would be through a joint access agreement to go back through the existing parking lot and enter onto Duluth Avenue. So no direct access onto County Road 21. All the access for this commercial site would go back towards Duluth Avenue here. The variance that's being proposed is based on the floor area ratio, and this is specific to our downtown business district, or our TC district. What this floor area ratio means is we have a minimum of 0.5 floor area ratio in our town center. And what that is encouraging to build multi-story buildings. Obviously, in a downtown business district, we want to see more of 2 or 3 story buildings, not single-story buildings. And so building a 2-story building where you have equal amounts of square footage on the upper floor as well as the lower floor, then you would have that 0.5 ratio. So that would basically, we're creating a code for our town center that we would like to have a minimum 2-story building as far as square footage goes of a floor area. However, even though this is zone town center, as I said before, it's not immediately within our town center, as you can see. And part of that reason for that is it doesn't have that on-street parking. It doesn't have some of the other aspects to it that allude itself to more of a downtown feel commercial district. And the proximity, obviously, directly adjacent to County Road 21 is one of those reasons, as well as having residential in behind it. If this was a little bit more of a multi-story building, it would be a little bit more challenging to figure out those nodes and still establish a good amount of parking directly adjacent to these commercial businesses, because we obviously don't have on-street parking right on County Road 21 or directly to the south. So they need to provide for their parking, they need to provide for other things, and they couldn't provide for maybe an adequate amount of parking for a 2 or a 3-story type of commercial building in this site. The sites that are a little bit further to the west are a little bit bigger. They might be able to provide for that, to have those larger buildings, but much like the building that's there today, you would need to have greater than 50 parking stalls if you were to have 2 stories of commercial building space, and there's just not enough room on this site to provide that a level of parking. So that's part of the reason for the request of the variance from the floor area ratio, and part of the rationale for why staff does support that rationale as well. Just for clarity, they did receive a similar variance for the previous building that was just to the west of the site. Here's a building rendering that gives you an overview of the site. So you can see the architectural materials that the applicant, that Prior Lake Revival, is proposing to do. It's a mix of cement board, some brick, some stone accents, obviously some awnings. Similar to the nautical theme or the theming of the architectural design that the building had, again, just to the east of the site as well. So they're tying into similar type of architectural styles. Flat roof, but it's varied in the elevations, varying roof heights. Obviously not a straight rectangular building. It has varying shapes to it. So it does add some of that architectural character to the overall site. There's a couple more renderings, as you see, from the perspective of both the parking lot side as well as the side that would face the north elevation, which would be along Highway 21. I went through this already somewhat in the recommendation, but when we look at all of our variances, in particular for what would be approved tonight if the Planning Commission deems it so, is to Section 1152 of our zoning ordinances. And there are 4 criteria that all of our variances are evaluated against for whether they're practical and something that the city of Prior Lake wishes to approve. And they're basically that they should be only permitted when they're harmony or consistent with our code and comprehensive plan. They're granted when the applicant demonstrates what's known as practical difficulties given the situations unique to that specific site, not something just based on costs or economics alone, but something that's more based on the aspects of the specific character of that neighborhood or the specific site that is identifiable. In this case, as I said before, the site being a town center zoning, but not being directly adjacent into our downtown lends it to not necessarily have the adequate parking and site design to support that two-story or multi-story building. That's why the floor area ratio staff does support that it doesn't quite meet that character, as well as the existing building to the east did a few years ago when they got the variance approval for that one. The other recommendation before you tonight is for the preliminary plat, and the preliminary plat, I'll just go back to it again, is merely to approve a plat that would combine the two existing lots. You can kind of see a thin line here between them. These are two lots currently. They would be combined together under one plat for the Prior Lake Revival 2 built project. And it would design the parking lot standards, the landscaping, the building site, and whatnot, which all do meet our city zoning ordinances for those type of design standards. The site does not have setbacks in the side of, it's a downtown zoning district. That's why you don't see a lot of separation between property lines and the building itself. There is a minimum setback from County Road Highway 41, but other than that, they do have a little bit more wiggle room to put the building and the parking a little bit closer, and we would actually like that as long as they meet their stormwater design, so that we are using as much buildable area to the site that we can for our downtown projects. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions. Nick Monserud's here as well. If you have any engineering questions about access, stormwater, traffic, parking, anything along those lines, the applicant is here as well. If you have any questions for them, I'll take any at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I just have one question, probably more for Nick. How would the stormwater flow out of this site?
Commissioner Teeman, it would, I'm going to steal the mouse from Jeff here.
There you go. Thank you.
It'd be collected in the parking lot via a number of catch basins, and then it does go along the west property line into this area that has this heavy black line. That's actually a retaining wall, and then within that area is a stormwater pond or an infiltration basin.
Okay.
And then it ultimately discharged to an easement to the west, to the county's stormwater system there.
Okay. Thanks. I just wasn't quite picturing how it would flow, so, okay, good. Commissioner Johnson, questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Ringstead?
No questions.
Commissioner Cheddar?
The only question I had was around traffic, both on Duluth and through the parking area for Revival 1. Are there any concerns or city considerations for that access through Revival 1? And then 2, is the throat long enough for Duluth onto 21 for the traffic volumes that we'll be adding?
Commissioner Cheddar, so we did look at traffic counts.
Okay.
And we did have our traffic engineer take a look at those numbers as well. And from his takeaway, the main backing up would be within the parking lot. So it would be contained on private property. It would be people primarily exiting the properties, again, depending on use. Was the main area he saw that could be a problem, but again, that's private property, so as a city, we're not really concerned with that. Also, when Prior Lake Revival 1 went in, that was prior to the 21 project. Right. So we did have done significant improvements to the intersection there by not allowing a left off it, or excuse me, a left out of Duluth onto 21 as well.
So no city concerns or considerations?
Nope, not at this.
Traffic flow or volume? Okay, good, thank you.
And Commissioner Colbert?
Excuse me. It mentions future access to the west. Would that line up with that Racine Street that connects with West Avenue? That isn't a developed street, is that?
Commissioner Kahlberg, any access that comes from that site would depend on what those other two lots development ends up being. So at this time, it does not perfectly line up with Racine geometrically, there would be some sort of jog on the other property, but again, there could be a building there as well and not connected all the way through.
And one other question. The ratio is based on, not based on the footprint of the building, but the floor areas. So if you make 2 stories, would you have enough parking to accommodate a 2-story building of that size?
Yeah, and that's what we were looking at when we were looking at this site, is whether that the parking adequate was going to get tight the more stories we added to the site. Hence the reason for the variance access on the site, because it would get to be more problematic with that parking design.
It seems like if you went 3, 4 stories, you're going to run way out of parking space.
Correct.
So there seems to me a little conflict in that ratio calculation. But for this building, it's not a problem because it's a 1-story building. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to add any additional information? Just state your name and address for the record and then hit the button to turn green on the microphone. Yep.
Matt Schaefer, owner of Briar Lake Revival 2 and 1. So thank you, planning commissioners and city staff, for considering the variance. I just want to reiterate what Jeff had mentioned, which is we're building a smaller building than what the city's requiring, and as much as we'd like to build a much larger footprint and a much larger building, perhaps 2 or 3 stories, we also want to make sure that we set up our business owners for success in the building. And one of the challenges we have with our current building is that parking lot is full 3 or 4 days out of the week. And we just want to make sure that there's enough parking available for these tenants. Otherwise, their customers, patients, or clients, they won't come back to visit if they can't find a place to park. I also want to address one of the questions, I believe it was Commissioner Cheddar, that regarding traffic in and out of there. We did do a traffic study, and we anticipate an additional 444 cars or trip visits per week to that site. And what I can tell you is that ever since the county and the city did the joint project on Eagle Creek road improvements in front of our building, it's been a huge success and certainly reduced accidents and certainly has kept traffic flowing very well since they've done that project. So we appreciate that joint effort between the county and the city.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments. Any questions for the applicant? Oh, Commissioner Cheddar?
Yeah, so I appreciate your comments about the traffic. I do visit a tenant in Revival 1. I agree with the parking situation. I was surprised to not see sidewalk connections between the 2 properties, since you are effectively pooling the additional parking in this new outlot. So I certainly would encourage that, just to keep people from walking through the lot, the parking lot if possible. So I'm glad that you weathered the construction and COVID and everything else, and that we're back here to talk about this project today.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Ringstead?
Just wondering, do you have any tenants committed to the building at this point?
No known tenants at this point.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, I will take a motion and a second to open tonight's hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Shutter and Kalberg, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Tonight's is open for comment. Anyone have any comments on this agenda item? I'll ask one more time. Any comments? I see none. Oh, we have one? Okay. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. And I don't know if it's green or not. Can you check and see if it's green, the little button?
It's green.
Okay, perfect. Then you can just talk.
Okay, so I don't press anything.
Yeah, you're good.
My name's Kaya Krafchek. I live on 4353 Racine Street Southeast, the white duplex that's on Racine, right there. And just wondering, so And I know that with the open plots to the west of this property, with those not being filled, done, or anything, currently, I guess my question is, if those get developed, the properties to the west, will Racine connect to Duluth ultimately?
I'll turn that question over to Nick, probably. You're probably the best to answer that, or Jeff, one of you two.
I can take that. Not at this time. The only two parcels or property area that would be graded and developed is the area that's highlighted in red here. The other areas are actually owned by, they're not owned currently by Prior Lake Revival's development company. They're owned by a different property owner. And we don't have any proposal for any development on those at this time.
Not anymore.
I know there has been rumors and some concepts that have been proposed, but nothing is in at the city for any kind of building permits or any kind of development activity right now. So they would just remain vacant and as is for the time being.
Okay. And I know I came in late, so I probably missed some stuff, but the timeline for starting this project?
Yeah, go ahead. You can address it. You can speak from there. That's fine.
That was it.
Yeah, thank you.
As far as the timeline goes, we do need to secure tenants before we would want to start the project. We want to make sure that the project would get city support and planning commission or planning commission approval as well. And as soon as we secure some tenants and the market conditions are favorable, we'd love to start as soon as possible. But as of right now, we do not have a timeline set.
Okay, thank you very much for answering. Great. With that, I'll ask one more time. I don't see anybody else in the audience. Anybody else like to address the commission today on this item? Okay, with that, I will take a motion in a second to close tonight's public hearing.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Ringstead and Cheddar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The public hearing is closed on this item. One point of clarification for staff, we need to do two different things. We have to do a motion for the plat, and then we have to do a second one for the variance, correct?
Correct. One is a recommendation to council for the preliminary plat, and the other one would be an approval of the variance.
Okay, so I thought. All right, perfect. With that, I have no concerns. I think it's a nice continuation of a very nice development in town, so I think it's a very good project. I hope it goes through and we got a nice another piece of developed land there instead of a vacant lot. So, others, Commissioner Johnson.
Just a comment, I'd like to applaud the applicant for bringing this forward. I would second your comments. I think the building that's there looks really nice, provides services to our community, diversifies our tax base, and I see this as an extension of that. So I will be in support.
Mr. Ringstead.
I think the staff report laid out the variance criteria being met, and I agree with that completely. So I too will be voting in support of this tonight.
Commissioner Cheddar.
I agree that both the plat makes sense and the variance criteria have been met. I am also proud of the appearance of these products in our commercial corridor. I think that this is a great addition to what's really turning into the centerpiece of Prior Lake for people that are passing through.
And Commissioner Colbert.
Yes, this is certainly a logical use of the property and hardly unexpected. The picture sign has been up for how many years? Sooner or later, we're going to hear this.
Yeah, hopefully.
The effort to add parking to help the other building, and as my fellow commissioner commented about connecting walkways between the two buildings if they're going to share that parking. So other than that, I am in favor of the plat and the variance.
Great. Okay, with that, then I'll take a motion and a second to recommend approval to Priver Lake Revival 2 preliminary plat.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Cheddar and a second by Ringsted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The recommendation goes forward. And also, I would like to get a motion and a second for approving a variance from the minimum floor ratio of 0.5 in the town center zoning use district.
So moved.
I got a motion from Cheddar, a second from Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. With that, I will open it up to staff. Is there any announcements or other information?
So yes, that was your only action item on the agenda tonight. We do not have a meeting scheduled for you in 2 weeks at your regularly scheduled meeting, which I think was on the 13th. And don't anticipate having that meeting since we don't have any items scheduled. The 27th of March as well, typically we do not have a meeting on that. I don't anticipate having a meeting that at all in March then, just due to lack of items at this point. We have been hearing about some projects coming in, but they're more likely to be an April or May scenario before we see them before you. So we'll update you if those plans change, but as of right now, there's not anything anticipated for March.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. With that, we'll take a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion by Cheddar and a second by Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.